The soap bar in your shower right now is probably not what you think it is. Some carry synthetic detergents instead of real soap chemistry. Some market themselves as natural while listing fragrance compounds linked to allergic disease. Some have been trusted by British families for generations and quietly changed what is inside without changing what is on the front. 8 brands, 3 that are actually clean. Starting now. Before anything else, here is the one check that matters. Real soap has a short ingredient list built from saponified oils: sodium palmate, sodium cocoate, water, glycerin. When you see parfum as a single entry on a bar sold as natural, that one word can legally represent up to 200 undisclosed chemicals. Read the back before you trust the front. We start with the brand that built its entire proposition around environmental responsibility and then got caught selling it without always being able to prove it. First, at number 8, Marcel's Green Soap Bar. A verified Trustpilot reviewer documented something that Marcel's Green Soap's marketing had never prepared their customers to find. One of the brand's products, marketed as plastic-free, contained modified polyvinyl alcohol, a synthetic petroleum-derived plastic polymer used as a film coating in detergent pods. This ingredient dissolves in water. It does not biodegrade under normal environmental conditions. It requires temperatures above 60 degrees Celsius and specific bacterial colonies to break down. Under standard British wastewater treatment, it persists as microplastic particles. The reviewer's conclusion was direct. The plastic-free claim is false. Marcel's Green Soap is widely available across UK health retailers and Amazon. Some products carry genuine EU Eco-Label certification. The 0% fragrance line holds allergy-certified status. Both of those are real. But the brand's broader communications use terms including eco-friendly and sustainable across products that have not been independently certified to those standards. From September 2026, the EU Empowering Consumers Directive bans precisely those kinds of unsubstantiated environmental claims from the British market. A brand selling environmental virtue needs to be able to prove every claim on every product. Marcel's Green Soap cannot currently do that across its full range, available on Amazon UK and independent health retailers. And this is where the story gets worse. A brand that spent years building a loyal following on the promise that it was the antidote to exactly the kind of corporate soap story you just heard. In 2025, the corporation arrived anyway. Next up, at number 7, Dr. Squatch. In 2025, Unilever acquired Dr. Squatch for approximately $1.5 billion. Unilever also owns Dove. Two brands positioned at opposite ends of the natural soap debate now share the same parent company, the same board, and the same set of financial pressures. The founding ethos of Dr. Squatch, that it was the independent alternative to corporate beauty, ended the moment that acquisition completed. The formula itself predates that change and carries its own limitations. Cold process saponification is genuine soap chemistry. The oils are real, the glycerin is retained. But the ingredient labelled natural fragrance on multiple bars has no legal definition in British cosmetics regulation. It is a proprietary blend whose specific components do not have to be disclosed. The Environmental Working Group assessed the fragrance component in one Dr. Squatch bar as carrying high concern for allergies and immunotoxicity. Essential oils, including bergamot and cedar, used across the range, contain limonene and linalool at concentrations requiring EU allergen disclosure. For anyone with compromised skin barrier function or fragrance sensitivity, the practical risk profile overlaps significantly with several of the mainstream bars it was designed to replace. Cold process bars also dissolve faster than Syndet formats, making the real cost per wash higher than the bar price alone suggests. Available on Amazon UK at around £7 to £9 per bar. At number 6, Lush. In a Which? Consumer survey, 81% of respondents described Lush as a sustainable brand. That trust is exactly what makes the next part matter. Sodium lauryl sulfate, the synthetic surfactant associated with increased transepidermal water loss and skin barrier disruption in peer-reviewed research, appears in some Lush soap formulations. sodium lauryl sulfate, a related compound that may carry trace contamination with 1,4-dioxane, a chemical classified as a probable human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, appears in some Lush shower gels and bath products. The fragrance compounds in Lush bars include eugenol, linalool, citronellol, and cinnamol, all individually declared on ingredient lists because their concentrations exceed the EU mandatory disclosure threshold. When a researcher contacted Lush about synthetic fragrance in its products, a brand representative confirmed that the word perfume appearing in black on their ingredient list indicates the presence of synthetic components. The specific identities of those synthetic compounds are not published. A brand that built its reputation on knowing the provenance of every ingredient does not disclose the contents of its own fragrance blend. That is not a minor inconsistency. That is the central claim of the business failing at the exact point where it matters most for sensitive skin users. Lush bars start from around £5 at Lush stores across Britain. Before we continue, I have spent years reading ingredient labels in supermarket aisles so you do not have to. The supermarket method is everything I have learned about what is actually inside the products British households trust, condensed into one guide you can use every time you shop. Scan the QR code, get your copy, and let's continue with the next brand. But the next one is different. It is the only brand on this list that genuinely improved some things. The problem is what it kept while taking credit for what it removed. At number 5, Palmolive, credit where it is due. Palmolive, owned by Colgate-Palmolive, removed parabens from its full product range in 2016. It sources palm oil through RSPO-certified sustainable operations. Both decisions are real and represent genuine investment. They are also the ceiling of what this brand is willing to do, which is why it appears here. The olive and aloe extracts printed on the front of Palmolive Naturals bars appear deep in the ingredient sequence, which in EU cosmetics labelling means they are present at cosmetically negligible concentrations. They are there to justify the name on the packaging, not to deliver any measurable benefit to the skin. The parfum entry, listed as a single ingredient, represents a proprietary fragrance system whose individual components are undisclosed. The bar that costs more than Palmolive's standard range because it features olive oil contains olive oil at quantities that could be measured in drops per bar. Colgate-Palmolive generated revenues exceeding $19 billion globally in 2024. The budget to increase functional ingredient concentrations to match the front-of-pack promise exists. The business decision to spend it that way has not been made. Available at major UK supermarkets at around £1 per bar. Quick reality check. 4 brands in, and every one of them has spent more on communicating what it wants you to believe is in the product than on the ingredients those claims would require. What follows is more direct about the specific ways that communication misleads. The word on the front of this bar is a promise the brand never verified. At number 4, simple, one word, doing enormous marketing work. The implication is that this product has fewer ingredients, gentler chemistry, and less to worry about than everything around it. Simple bar soap in its standard format contains sodium talloate as one of its primary soap bases. Sodium talloate is saponified beef tallow. That is not a harmful ingredient in any clinical sense. It is, however, an animal-derived product that vegans, vegetarians, and people observing certain religious commitments would specifically choose to avoid. It does not appear prominently on the front of the packaging. The word simple does not indicate transparency about the origins of the primary ingredient. The sensitive skin positioning creates a second problem. Tallow-based soap typically produces a higher pH product than olive oil or coconut oil alternatives. Skin sits at around pH 5.5. A bar soap with alkaline pH temporarily raises skin surface pH above that level. For most people, this normalizes within an hour. For people with eczema, psoriasis, or compromised barrier function, that temporary elevation can extend disruption beyond what a better formulated product would cause. Simple's clinical backing for its sensitive skin claim applies to patch-tested fragrance avoidance, not to a full comparison of its pH effect versus alternatives. The name does the work the evidence has not been assembled to do. Available across major UK supermarkets at around £1.50 per bar. Then we reach a brand most British households will recognise. It has been in British bathrooms for generations. What most people have never done is look at how many individual allergens are declared in the fragrance system. At number 3, Imperial Leather. P.Z. Cussons has been manufacturing soap since 1879. Imperial Leather as a brand has existed since the 1930s. That history is real, and the soap chemistry underneath is genuine saponification rather than synthetic detergent. What the heritage narrative does not cover is the fragrance architecture built on top of it. Count the declared allergens on an Imperial Leather original bar: eugenol, coumarin, citronellol, linalool, geraniol, benzyl benzoate. 6 individual fragrance components required by EU regulation to be named separately on the ingredient list, because each has been identified as carrying sufficient allergenic potential to require specific consumer disclosure. These are not trace impurities, they are fragrance building blocks present at concentrations above the regulatory threshold. Independent skin analysis platforms rate Imperial Leather as carrying documented concerns for worsening eczema and triggering rosacea flare-ups, driven specifically by this fragrance load. The brand's own marketing describes the scent as woodsy patchouli and precious frankincense. The ingredient list tells you that what you are actually applying is a cocktail of 6 separately declared contact allergens. For the roughly 8 million people in Britain currently managing eczema, that gap between description and ingredient reality is not a minor labelling issue. Available at all major UK supermarkets at around £2 for a 4-bar pack. And this is where the list moves from labelling problems to something with a direct connection to one of the most serious public health challenges currently facing Britain. At number 2, Dettol. Oxford University researchers published findings in Nature Communications confirming that prolonged exposure to triclosan, an antibacterial chemical compound, increases antibiotic resistance in bacteria. Dettol bar soap uses chloroxylenol as its active antibacterial agent, a compound in the same functional chemical class, operating through the same mechanism of disrupting bacterial cell membranes. Every time you wash with Dettol, that compound contacts not just transient pathogens, but the hundreds of beneficial bacterial species that constitute your skin's resident microbiome. It does not distinguish between them. Those beneficial species are not passengers. They produce bacteriocins that prevent pathogenic colonization of the skin surface. They help regulate the local immune response. They contribute to the structural integrity of the acid mantle. A 2023 peer-reviewed study found that triclosan exposure at relevant concentrations increased epidermal permeability and altered gene expression patterns governing skin barrier formation. Disrupting that barrier repeatedly, with every wash, in the name of hygiene, is achieving the opposite of what the marketing implies. Dettol's advertising since 1932 has been built on the premise that killing bacteria is categorically good. The scientific evidence published in the decades since has complicated that premise substantially. The bar remains on supermarket shelves across Britain, marketed at parents as the responsible choice when a household member is unwell. But one household name takes this even further. The brand most of Britain trusts the most calls its product something other than soap, and has done so since 1957. And finally, the worst on the list. Number 1. Dove. Dove does not call its flagship product soap. It calls it a beauty bar. Open the Dove website and you will find the brand's own explanation. Soap can be harsh and strip your skin's natural oils, while the Dove Beauty Bar creams your skin as you wash. The product it is comparing itself against unfavorably is actual soap. The product it is selling instead is a synthetic detergent bar, a Syndet, built primarily from sodium lauryl isethionate rather than saponified fats. The full ingredient list of the Dove Beauty Bar runs to 28 separate components: sodium lauryl isethionate, stearic acid, sodium palmitate, Parfum, a single label entry representing a proprietary blend of undisclosed compounds averaging 30 to 50 individual chemicals in commercial fragrance systems. Tetrasodium, EDTA. Synthetic dyes, CI 15985 and CI 19140. Butylphenyl methylpropional, flagged by the EU Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety as a potential endocrine disruptor. Coumarin, a declared EU allergen. Benzyl alcohol, benzyl salicylate. The bar that British households reach for most often contains more ingredients than most people have words to describe. The quarter moisturizing cream that defines Dove's identity is stearic acid and synthetic conditioning agents doing work that properly superfatted real soap does without any additive. The bar that trained an entire generation of British consumers to distrust soap was not soap to begin with. That has been true since 1957. Almost nobody was told. 8 brands. Now the 3 that actually are what they say. Each carries independently verified certification, fragrances derived exclusively from named essential oils, and ingredient lists that require no chemistry background to read. All 3 are available on Amazon UK right now. The third best option has been making soap in Britain since 1974 and was the first company in the world to give nature a formal legal vote on its business decisions. At number 3, Faith in Nature. Faith in Nature holds B Corporation certification, meaning its social and environmental practices have been independently verified against a defined standard that is reassessed on a fixed cycle. It was also the first company globally to appoint nature as an official board member with a legally binding vote, a structural commitment backed by a trust document rather than a marketing statement. The soap bars use saponified sodium palmate and sodium cocoate from RSPO certified sustainable and organic sources. No SLS, no synthetic fragrance, no parabens, no artificial colour. The lavender variant has 8 ingredients listed in total. Soil Association Cosmos organic certification on the organic sub-range requires 95% organic plant content, full ingredient traceability, and prohibits synthetic fragrance, microplastics, and GMO ingredients. Carbon balanced with the World Land Trust. Made in Britain. Packaged in 100% recycled cardboard. Available on Amazon UK at around £2 per bar and stocked at Waitrose, Boots and Health Independence. This next one is tucked in the international aisle in most shops. It has been certified organic since before most mainstream UK soap brands existed. At number 2, Urtekram. Founded in Copenhagen in 1972, Urtekram produces all its personal care products from a facility in Mariager, Jutland, running on 100% renewable energy. The soap bars carry Cosmos Organic certification from EcoCert, requiring that 95% of plant-derived ingredients are certified organic with full supply chain traceability and a prohibition on synthetic fragrance, synthetic colour, microplastics, and genetically modified ingredients. The unscented bar available on Amazon UK contains 3 ingredients: certified organic sodium palmate, certified organic sodium palm kernelate, and water. No preservatives because the natural pH of a properly saponified bar is self-preserving. No fragrance compounds of any kind, which makes it one of the few commercially available bars in Britain genuinely safe for people managing fragrance allergies, eczema, or severe skin sensitivity. Packaging uses plant-based sugarcane plastic that absorbs CO2 during production rather than releasing it. Available on Amazon UK at around £3 per bar. And finally, the best on the list, number 1, Little Soap Company. Emma Heathcote James began making soap by hand because organic natural soap was absent from British mainstream retail entirely. She changed that. Little Soap Company became the first brand to place genuinely organic soap on mainstream UK supermarket shelves. In 2022, it received the Queen's Award for Enterprise. In 2026, it received the King's Award for Enterprise in Sustainable Development, one of only 185 organisations recognised nationally that year, and among the most competitive sustainability categories in British business. B Corp certified since 2020, with a recertification score of 90.7 in 2023. Carbon negative for 3 consecutive years, offsetting more than double its full scope 1 to 3 emissions. The Eco Warrior range alone has kept over 22.5 million plastic bottles out of the supply chain. Every bar is plant-based, vegan certified, cruelty-free and fragranced exclusively with pure essential oils. No synthetic fragrance, no hidden chemistry. Ingredient lists published in plain English alongside Latin in-si names, because transparency was built into the brand before there was commercial pressure to abandon it. One bar is sold every 30 seconds. Stocked at Waitrose, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Morrisons and Boots. Available on Amazon UK with the link in the description below. Around £2.50 to £4 per bar, depending on variant. 8 brands, every one of them currently on British shelves, marketing themselves as something they are not required to fully substantiate. The word natural needs no certification in British law, the word soap has no legal standard. The word eco-friendly will be banned without certification from September 2026 under incoming EU empowering consumers legislation that applies to the British market. 3 brands that understood all of that from the beginning and built their products to survive that scrutiny anyway. The next time you are standing in the soap aisle, turn the bar over. Read the ingredient list before you read the packaging. If you cannot read most of the words on the list, the brand is counting on that. The biggest names on that shelf spent decades building trust. The 3 brands you just saw spent decades earning it. There is a difference.